the future. There are no people. There are no people in the future. No people at all. There are no people in the future. Where did all my people go? There are no people in the future. Let me try my people call. Where are all my people? Where are all my people? I guess I'll fly away now.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. It is Friday, October 8th, 2021, week 2 in October here on Out the Coop Podcast. Welcome to Raging Chicken's Out the Coop Podcast. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. Each week, I talk to that vaccinated scarecrow, Sean Kitchen, about the good, the bad, and the ugly in state and national politics. Yes, we are streaming also live on our YouTube channel, so don't forget to smash that subscribe button, like the stream, and hit the bell so you know every time we go live, and share it with your friends, man. We've got an awesome team of folks on social media who've just been sharing out our stuff. Thank you for the community out there who's been pushing out our stuff. It's been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate you. Thank you. On today's show, hundreds of Bands Off Our Bodies rallies were held across Pennsylvania and the United States last Saturday. The demonstrations brought out hundreds of thousands of people supporting access to abortion and reproductive health care. This is going to be a major issue going into the elections, too. The midterm elections and the next presidential ones, too, as well. So it's awesome to see the activity out there. And the Senate Judiciary Committee released a report saying that we were much closer to a serious constitutional crisis than we thought. And we already thought we were pretty close, right? And, of course, some PA regulars are in the crosshairs now. On the other side of Congress, the House January 6th Commission says it will start issuing criminal subpoenas for those folks who decide that they're not going to show up, right? They're going to try to pull another, well, it's executive privilege. Well, we'll see what happens when the guys with guns come knocking on your door. You know, good thing that you're a strong proponent of Second Amendment rights because you'd want to support those cops with their guns when they're coming to get you. Crazy. And the Pandora Papers dropped this week. Boom! Exposing how world leaders, celebrities, and the uber rich are using U.S. tax havens and real estate to park their riches out of the reach of taxation and public scrutiny. As described by the Washington Post, quote, the investigation identified 206 U.S.-based trusts linked to 41 countries. Nearly 30 of the trusts held assets connected to people or companies accused of fraud, bribery, or human rights abuses in some of the world's most vulnerable communities, unquote. That cache of documents that was just it's been incredible going through some of that stuff. And Bernie Sanders is pretty much done with coddling Joe Manchin. Yep. Talk a little about that. Of course, this week, the big Facebook goes down. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Oculus all went down the day after Frances Haugen, a former Facebook employee turned whistleblower, appeared on 60 Minutes and then spilled the beans on Facebook, ignoring its own research that its platform was causing real-world damage to democracy and people's well-being. Right? That's been a big one. This week, the American Prospect lays it out again and again and again about how Biden can use executive actions to take decisive action on climate. So what's it going to be, Biden? The climate or Joe Manchin's foo-foos? Your call. You know, no pressure. And a great piece of In These Times reports on a new report from Democratic Party consultants, which shows evidence that the fate of the Democratic Party is intimately tied to the decline of union power. And pointing to the fact that the Democratic Party and labor movement itself needs to throw everything into organizing right now if it has a hope to survive. All right, it's a great piece. It's a fantastic piece by Hamilton Nolan. Go check that out at In These Times. You get the link in today's show notes. Crazy. Goes to home here in Pennsylvania. Attorney General Josh Shapiro filed 48 criminal charges against Energy Transfer Partners for environmental damage and contamination from the Mariner East pipeline. Boom! Take those people out. And March on Harrisburg rained on Jake Corbin's fundraising golf outing at Toftree's Resort near Penn State. Yes, wealthy donors paid between $500 and $10,000 to bend Corbin's ears on the back nine. Activists lined the trail between the 10th and the 11th hole, attempting to engage donors and holding signs that read, Senator Corbyn, meet with voters, not with donors. Or lawmaker bribery, par for the course. Or this one, the gift ban should be a gimme. Yes, indeed. Activists took this latest action after Senate pro tempore Jay Corman has refused to bring the gift ban legislation up for a vote. There you go. Guess you're going to have to be a little bit more uncomfortable in your daily life now, Mr. Corman. And in Pennsylvania, of course, school board craziness continues. What can I say? Right? And, and I'm doing my best to dodge COVID, right? At the kind of, COVID denying reality of my workplace and the COVID denying reality of my school district in which my kids are enrolled. It's been a great week. Had to get tested this week, everybody. Woo! And wait, we should have put this at the top of the very show, but this is like breaking news all over the place right now. Mikey Stacks is back. That's right. He's trying to get a hold of his old Senate seat. Yep, Stacks' old Senate seat went to John Sabatina, a Stack protege, when Mike Stack became lieutenant governor. Senator Sabatina is leaving the Pennsylvania Senate for a Philadelphia court seat. Sabatina was picked as a replacement Democratic nominee when the original nominee dropped out of the race. Philly politics at its finest, but you know what? The world of stand-up comedy is going to lose one of its own if Mikey Stacks gets it back. But at least we're going to get back the bright-colored suits and crazy socks. We always got that.
The Pink Panther.
The Pink Panther. There you go. And in today's last call, Captain Kirk is getting a shot to go to space, or at least part of space. That's right, William Shatner is getting a ride on the next Blue Origin, scheduled for Tuesday, October 12th. All right, this is coming Tuesday. All right, at 90 years old, he'll be the oldest person to go to space. As The Verge puts it, quote, Shatner's flight will be filmed as part of a documentary. Shatner will be joined by two other customers, announced early by Blue Origin. Chris Boshusen, a former NASA engineer who co-founded the small satellite company Planet Labs, and Glenn DeVries, a co-founder of a software company, Media Data, and vice chair of life sciences at Dassault Systems, a French software company. Blue Origin also announced today that Audrey Powers, the company's vice president of mission and flight operations, will become the fourth passenger on the flight. So another cozy little Jeff Bezos company kind of flight to just crack the inside of space before it drops back down. Way to go. Yes, the penal rocket is on its way again. And a special shout out goes to Matthew Bieniek for the nice cache of half-orc pumpkin ale that he supplied me. Yes, home brewed by Bieniek Biotech Brews. Gotta love that. And I had to bring it in especially today because, it is the season that I love to, talk about pumpkin beer with Sean because he loves it so much. And a little early shout out goes to my son. My son is becoming a teenager this weekend, which I can't freaking believe it. His birthday is this weekend. Happy birthday to Rowan. It's gone way too fast, man. Been way too fast. But
I remember when he was in our class.
Remember that? Back when he was using the cannonball.
Like 10 years ago.
That's right.
11. Yeah.
That's right. When he was playing in front of the classroom, right? We had him up there in the little
Talking about how bad of a person Tom Corbett was.
That's right. And our university president at the time. Yep.
Yes. Well,
yes.
That hasn't changed.
Yep, exactly. That's what happens when you go on a commute with your son to work. You listen to the Rick Smith Show the entire time. And speaking of the Rick Smith Show, make sure you tune into the Rick Smith Show, streaming every night on YouTube, Twitter, wherever you get your stream content. And man, just head on over to thericksmithshow.com to check out all the details for his latest endeavors. I mean, because he's got a show now on WBAI. KPFK in Los Angeles picked up his show, and he's got some new stuff coming. So make sure that you're heading on over to thericksmithshow.com for all the details, and subscribe to his daily podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, got to make sure you're listening to the Sisters of the Night Caucus podcast. You are already, right? I hope so. That's right. The amazing PA women stirring the political cauldron behind this podcast rock the house. And they know where the bodies are buried. And it's spooky season, everybody, so they're up for their game even more. Make sure you follow them on Twitter at The Night Caucus and subscribe to their podcast wherever you get their podcast. Attention all you gamers out there, the Game Inn with 2 N's. The Game Inn is a Quakertown-based black family-owned gaming store. They're friends of the show, and they've got everything for retro N64s, the latest consoles, action figures, Funko Pops, you name it. And with back-to-school season here, yes, for every A your kid gets on the report card, boom, they get a discount. Head on over to their Facebook page, the Game Inn Facebook page. Follow them on Twitter at the Game Inn, again with 2 N's. If you got a question, you're looking for something special, you're trying to get your hands on something that's hard to get, shoot them an email at thegameinpa@gmail.com. Special shout out, of course, goes to Jonathan Mann, who wrote our intro song, There Are No People in the Future. Check out all his great stuff on his YouTube page and follow him on Twitter at SongAdayMan. That's with 2 N's, at SongAdayMan on Twitter. A couple quick show notes. This coming Monday, October 11th at 7 p.m., I welcome Jamie Davis and Cindy Shane to the program. Davis and Shane are school board candidates in the Palisades School District, which is having its own battles against right-wing extremist toxicity. They just had another big blow-up this week when it came to kind of redefining the health guidelines for there. So good timing, I guess, to have them on. And if you tried to tune into my interview with Jordan Hopkins on Out to Coop Live this past Monday, you know that Jordan was unable to make it unexpectedly. But we've rescheduled. We got it all ready to go. He'll be on Monday, October 18th. He sends his apologies. Some of my apologies, just something that, life happens sometimes, folks. But we'll talk about his latest article for Unicorn Riot called School Board Disruptions Escalate, Funded by Conservative Dark Money. And don't forget to check out the Wednesday show with Cyril Michaleko. Our latest show dropped this week, and we talked about Cyril's latest column, Bucks County Youth Must Rise Up to Defend Education. All this is possible because of you. And look, if we want a progressive future, we need progressive media. Support Pull No Punches, homegrown progressive media today. Become a patron of Raging Chicken for as little as $5 a month. Just go to patreon.com/rcpress. Help keep the media in the movement and the movement in the media. Become a patron for as little as $5 a month going to patreon.com/rcpress today. Well, here we are, Sean. It's silly season once again, but there's kind of interesting stuff going on all over the place. So how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Not too much happening this week for me personally, but it's just going.
I see you got your window open. Nice breeze coming in and stuff. That's nice.
Yeah, we've had this it's kind of been like this weird weather this week.
Yeah.
It's been in the mid 70s, but it hasn't been warm. But it's been a cool, damp. So
yeah, I had up until yesterday afternoon, I had the worst sinus headache all weekend long. It felt like I was going to bed early. I literally was going to bed at 8:30 at night, trying to to catch up on my sleep, just to get rid of the headache. And it felt like I didn't sleep a wink every single night. And then finally, whatever the heck that little system was cleared out of here. And I feel like I'm awake again, which is good. So
that's good. I mean, it's good that you didn't get COVID this week either.
Dude, man, I good. Yeah, someone close to us tested positive, at least in the rapid test with COVID. And which meant we all had to get tested just to make sure. We all came up negative, thank goodness. And it turns out that once the secondary test, the antibody test came back, this person that originally tested positive on the rapid test tested negative. So that was good news too as well. But man, I'm telling you, it's touch and go. Every day, it's freaking touch and go. I mean, when I have students coming in my class that they're sitting in the front row, hacking up lungs. When I have my son coming home from school, talking about how this student in class who's basically takes it upon themselves to stand up against the mask result. This is freaking middle school, and sitting there without a mask, coughing in class, sniffling and things like this, and nothing to be done. You're just waiting. You're just waiting for it to, for one of us to test positive. So, and speaking of which, this goes out to a special shout out to Shanna Danielson. That she put up here. Shanna, we hope you're doing okay. Shanna had, she put this out on Twitter, so I'm not kind of divulging anything that's kind of private here. But she put up that she tested positive there too as well. So we hope that's we know that. Obviously, you're in the kind of the vaccinated crew, but it's been it's one of those things. The last thing you need. So our thoughts are with you.
Yeah, I know a couple of other people who've ended up getting breakthrough cases over the past week as well. It seems like it's happening. But yeah, thankfully people are vaccinated.
No, right. I mean, what I just keep on telling the people though is that it's like And I think some of this is just the level of exhaustion that people have with all of this. But like, well, I got the vaccine, so if I get a breakthrough case, right, I know I'm gonna be okay, and that's true. Thank goodness for that. But what the Delta, I always have to emphasize that the Delta variant has added this other layer to the problem, and that layer is that even if you're vaccinated, right, that you can still spread COVID if you're testing positive, right, because so much of the load is in your nasal passages. So even though like you're going to be safe, great for you, great for me for being vaccinated, but you got people out there, right? And so that's part of the problem, because everybody is like, say, well, we got the vaccine now, okay, that's great, but we still have to be cautious in terms of like staying home and wearing a mask and stuff, because if we give half a crap about anybody else, I mean, really, that's really what it comes down to. So,
and it feels like this might be the last wave from what people are saying.
I'm hoping
from
so.
From it ripping through so quickly.
Well, that we talked about this early on when we saw some of the original data when it came for COVID, when it looked like it would burn through pretty quickly. Like we saw that in the UK, and we saw it in India too as well. Let's hope. I'm
surprised it
really
didn't burn through PAs quickly. I guess that's the vaccine. The vaccines were working. We was like 70% vaccination, and it seems like it has like plateaued at like 4,500 cases a day, which is still a lot. But
yeah, exactly. I mean,
we're not going back. I mean, like I'm in Dauphin County, out here in central PA, like our COVID numbers are going up to where they were at back in January right now.
Right.
Like we're peaking past like, the winter months. And that's because of the people who aren't vaccinated out here.
Right. That's what it is. Yep. Exactly, and then you saw some good reporting out in the what do you call it, the Pennsylvania Star or whatever, the
Capital Star.
God, I just drawing a blank right here
about the districts.
Yeah, the vaccination districts, right? And you basically see all the districts that have the lowest numbers of vaccination are all Republican districts, and they're all these.
The House Speaker has the lowest,
exactly,
which is just like almost embarrassing. Like, I mean, for your position, you're the Speaker of the House. I mean, it just shows you how how fucked up our politics are.
Right, and I'm sure in some circles that's a badge of honor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like you're killing your base to own the libs.
Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable.
Yeah, and did you see okay, so I don't want to go off the rails, but did you see Bill Maher last week complain this? Okay, well, this is like my Twitter, my YouTube feeds, just from like watching Hassan videos and shit like that. Bill Maher went on a fucking rant about people making fun of like those taking ivermectin because he said it's a drug, which is just like, yeah, like Viagra's a drug, but you're not taking it to like cure cancer. Like you know what I mean?
Exactly.
like you're taking ivermectin, which is not like meant for COVID, and still like the medicine itself has like harsh side effects.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
like and the pace is worse, and it's just like it's amazing like watching these type of people like Bill Maher and other like. It's amazing watching how far right to he shifted, just becoming a crank, but also like going down that like IDW Weinstein like rabbit hole. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Which is what like Sam Cedar always talk about. Like, it's amazing how much of these fucking idiots are caught up in this like Weinstein or like Peter Thiel like cult of personality. And you're just like, yeah, ivermectin is a drug. Stop making fun of people who are taking it. No, people are fucking taking horse paste, dewormer, and killing themselves, or like, like destroying their intestines and stuff like that.
Yep. It's just it's crazy.
And they're getting it from these people, like this misinformation.
Yep. No, exactly. And it just it's so depressing. And we got Emily in the chat today, basically saying too, is like, I'm more concerned about unknowingly infecting someone rather than catching it. And that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I think about I don't know, like, you'll get this, I guess it's just like, this is where you got realms of understanding that I just don't get, right? I mean, if I knew or even suspected that I gave COVID to somebody else, even if they chose to be unvaccinated and they died from it or got severely ill, I would just I would have trouble sleeping. But what I've become, the view that I've become, disabused of is that that's not the way most people are thinking, right? Which is like, I can't say most people. It's not most people. Like a cohort of people that happen to live very close to my district where I live. I think it's just kind of like it's me all the way around. So we weren't even planning and talking about COVID. And here we are talking about COVID. How about this?
I mean, I don't want to sound insincere or like a dick or anything, but like I don't know how my views of that are, just because of like the shit I've had to do over the past year, and like being in these rooms or like at these rallies with these fucking people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my views on this stuff is kind of like a bit more blunt and probably just like not where you're at. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Like after the stuff I've had to deal.
Sean goes to rallies and he coughs on people and hopes that he gives them the.
No, but I mean, like, there are times like where I'm the only one wearing a mask at this stuff, and there's time like, like lately I have not been wearing masks at these events because they are getting hostile with people wearing masks. But it's like.
But you're not. But, I mean, let's be clear though. I mean, you're outdoors. Okay, I mean, most of these things you're outdoors and things like this, right? I mean, you're not.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm choosing not to go inside, like with the Mastriano people. Like 50 of them went inside his office to pray for him that day. But like the abortion rally, just like how many people are like, we're still like a week or two away from like these people just spreading it through their communities. I mean, that was a spreader event. Like you had 50 people, like you had hundreds of people fucking packed on buses.
No, yeah, no, totally.
But I mean, like it's just been watching. I mean, they've just been acting like that the whole entire time, like that total disregard. I don't know.
No, exactly. But this is what Shanna just said. In the chat, say first feeling I had when my kid's test result was positive was fear, and the second was pure rage. Right? I'm like with you. It's like I'm seriously, when I got the letter that my from the school district that my son had been kind of exposed from a student who had been there, and again, thankfully he tested positive at this point. But I really believe it's just a matter of time, right? Because of the craziness of my school district. But my first thing was like, oh my God, what do I got to do to make sure that what I do with Rowan, who do I got to call, because all this stuff. And the next thing was like, I was like saying to myself, I can't go to the school, and I should not at this point put anything in writing to anybody who works at the school, because I was so mad, and what I wanted to do at that point was just not healthy, right? Especially for the other person, right?
Yeah.
So, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, it was like I was so freaking angry that you could let like my kid and other kids deal with this, and it's the kind of rage that just has, at least for me, has just been building. Right. So whatever. So in happier news, this past weekend, right, there were like hundreds of bands off our bodies rallies around Pennsylvania across the country. Basically kind of set defense, really kind of setting down like a marker going forward about, look, we are not going here. We are not going back to the pre-Roe world, and that was.
And you want to know the biggest difference between, Monday's abortion anti-life or, anti-choice rally, and then like the Saturday's rally? The age difference. Like mostly everyone out here were in their like 20s, 30s, 40s. Like a lot of young people were out here for this.
Yep. Like
I don't know what it was like around the rest of the country, but like. I mean, you had thousands of people showing up in cities across the country. I would say 1,000, 1,500 show up in Harrisburg.
Right. I mean, look, yeah. I mean, that was the way it was in Doylestown. That was the way that we saw that in Philly. That's the way that we saw that in Allentown. We saw the protests across the country. You saw that in DC too. And the thing is like, those people who are kind of anti-abortion, right? I mean, yeah, of course, there's some younger folks, but they're really concentrated in kind of like, in the geriatric wing of the Republican Party. So it's like, seriously.
Yeah,
and so I mean,
no,
and that's just, so basically you're in a position right now where you don't have the same kind of energy and force behind those counter efforts. They're concentrated in our political systems, which is a significant problem. But I do think that that what we saw this past Saturday is indicates that is going to be a major kind of force going forward, that people are going to say we will not stand for this.
Yeah, I mean, access to reproductive health care and abortion in Pennsylvania polls really high, like it polls high across partisan lines.
Yep.
And like, it's something that this is just going to galvanize an issue. I think this is an issue Democrats, you're already seeing it now, are campaigning on. This will be a key issue in 2022. We have to start using culture war issues correctly, and I feel like this is a culture war issue that the Democrats can exploit messaging wise. I mean, it's for the taking, and also as a party, we are not where we were at 10 years ago as a party. I think we're seeing it now, especially in the state legislature. You've always had 150, 160 people voting for pro-life bills in the General Assembly, like in the House, going back to the past 20 or 30 years. That is over with you only have like 5 or 6 Democrats down.
Yeah.
In the caucus who vote for pro-life stuff. It's completely changed within the party dynamics. I think you see with people like Bob Casey, who I think has changed for the better over the past couple terms, his time in office. I know. I mean, I think it'll be dumb. It'll be a dumb issue. It'll be dumb if Democrats don't campaign on this.
Well, no, but I think this has been the case for a long time, right? I mean, I remember that Rebecca Traister.
There's always been like a third rail they've always been afraid of campaigning on.
Right, and Rebecca Traister, she's a writer at large for was it the New Yorker magazine, I believe, and she is, or New York Magazine, I should say, and she's author of the book Good and Mad: The Revolutionary Power of Women's Anger. She was on the Chris Hayes show not too long ago with I can't remember who was on the show, but her point was like, Chris Hayes said, this is an issue that looks like Democrats are finally going to move forward, and she's like, finally, we have been saying this for like as long
20
as
years,
been, exactly
30 years.
And she's like, and she was like really pushing back against Hayes a bit to say, look, the Democrats always say that they're gonna defend these things. They have to now actually campaign on it and act on it and take action. She's like, and I think that that is so critical. Basically saying, look, it's not enough just to say we're pro-abortion. It's like you have to freaking campaign on it and go after the other side. I think she's 100% right on that.
Yeah. In other fun news,
yes, do tell.
The Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday released a little bit of a report.
There's a little bit of a report, and it said everything's fine.
Yes, it's all fine. The meme with the dog with the house burning around.
That was the cover.
Fine.
That was the cover of the report.
Yes. Doug Mastriano and Scott Perry are two of the main actors. Played supporting roles in this. I mean, don't know where to start with the report. Pretty fucking damning, like in general. But I feel like watching on the Pennsylvania stuff, we're actually seeing action being taken against Mastriano and Perry. It'll be great seeing them getting investigated. And I really think this opens up a whole entire can of worms for the Republicans in the General Assembly.
Indeed.
Like, I mean, Scott Perry was here on Stop the Steal stuff right after the election, and Jim Jordan. They went inside the Capitol at some point. Mike Doyle was up here. I think, is it Mike Doyle or whoever the Republican is up in Erie County?
I'm gonna forget his name. So,
yeah, I don't think it's Mike Doyle because I think Mike Doyle is Democrat. Whoever that one Republican is up there. But no, like they were all in Harrisburg day after the election, inside the Capitol. Like, who were they meeting with and why? Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of stuff about what happened in Pennsylvania getting brought out in this report and the roles that Mastriano played in the context.
Oh, it's there.
Like,
it's there.
I
So
mean,
let me here's a piece. So this is written by Alex Henderson, an alternate. So just to kind of give you the opening for it, report released by the Senate Judiciary Committee on Thursday, October 7th, offers troubling details on former President Donald Trump's efforts to bully U.S. Department of Justice officials into helping him overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election back in December 2020 and early 2021. As a report, the report, according to Politico reporters Nicholas Wu and Kylie Cheney, paints a damning picture of Representative Scott Perry of Pennsylvania. Quote, in the last weeks of Trump's administration, according to the new Senate Judiciary Committee report, the former president asked Richard Donahue, then the Justice Department's second in command, for his cell number so that lawmakers concerned about the election would call him, Wu and Cheney explained in an article published on the 7th. Perry was one of the lawmakers who ended up with the principal associate deputy attorney general's phone number. The Politico reporters continue. The report details that Perry contacted Donahue on December 27th, saying Trump himself had suggested the call and raised false election claims. Perry told Donahue, as the report states, that there were things going on in Pennsylvania with regard to the ballot counting that he found improper. Perry also recommended to Donahue that Jeffrey Clark, there it is, then head of the Justice Department Civil Division, should become more involved in the DOJ's handling of the 2020 election. So Jeffrey Clark is the key figure that was basically going all in on the coup. And this report and this kind of what they find in the committee's report comes out, lays all that bare, and Scott Perry is right at front and center in all of that.
Yeah. So like, how did Scott Perry draft Jeff Clark is going to be a key issue. I'm sorry if anyone hears that in the background right now. Sweeper going by my apartment.
I can't hear it.
You can't. Okay.
No,
it's just a really loud street. It's messing with my hearing. I think there's a lot of questions. Like, Scott Perry, how did he meet Jeffrey Clark? How did Jeffrey Clark get that job with that dark money group afterwards? Who wrote that legal letter was one of the questions I think Sheldon Whitehouse raised. For Jeffrey Clark. Whitehouse is a senator who has been following dark money stuff and been beating this drum for a while. So it's just like, how did he end up at this, right-wing institute afterwards? Drafting a letter he has no legal training drafting. Like, someone wrote that letter for him. Like, what's all the connections here?
Yeah, I think it's and this is, I think you're right. This is just the beginning. I mean, this is, putting this on there, and this is gonna, I think some of this stuff is gonna unravel. The big question is, what are the consequences going to be? I mean, here's the report, right? Report comes out, shows what happened with Perry. It shows what's happened with Jeffrey Clark. It's kind of showing that the role that Pennsylvania Republicans and Republican Party actually had in the insurrection and in the attempted coup. The big question now is going to be, okay, what happens next, right? And then what triggers can be pulled on that? Because look, the report is a necessary step, right? It's absolutely critical, and I think some of this stuff is, it kind of bears out and kind of, puts a fine point on some of the things that you've raised in the past about Scott Perry's involvement too. And so now we're going to see what the consequences are going to be. I mean, do we let these people stay?
And I feel like the emails that we have dug up over the past 2 summers have, pretty much laid out an example of how these fucking people operate. We have emails with Russ Diamond talk saying that, like, Doug Mastriano has a direct connection to the White House. And this was like last summer we dug this up, like during the pandemic.
Exactly.
There whole lot of communications are going to be dug up with this stuff. Whole lot of like usual actors are going to get dragged into this. Frank Ryan, Russ Diamond, I'm just thinking of anyone, Don Kiefer, Mike Regan. Mike Regan admitted to working with the Trump administration. While like the day after or the Saturday the election was called, and that big Stop the Steal rally was happening in Harrisburg, and that riot almost broke out. No, I mean like this is who like they were. They admit to stuff in public. It's just you're looking at the photo of Scott Perry from today's Penn Live photo. You can see Sam Lazar in the background holding a flag and a bullhorn. Like, this is the stuff Roxbury and I were following, like the whole entire 3 months between the election and the insurrection last year.
And there you go.
Just all this stuff just coming together. So, there's definitely a lot more involvement here. There was numerous Stop the Steal rallies and stuff like that happened.
Yeah, we're gonna see where this goes from here, and I think that again, I think it's only going to get more important to continue exposing this stuff. And I was happy to hear that in conjunction with this report coming out too as well in the Senate, the House January 6th Commission says it's going to start issuing these criminal subpoenas to people say that they want to show up, that they're trying to hide behind executive privilege. And, again, about having criminal subpoenas go out instead of just saying that, it's a congressional subpoena and we really hope you show up. This one is actually going to, bring them to the congressional jail if need be, right? And kind of, and put them on the stand. I think that's what's got to happen at this point. Because these people have got to pay the price for what they just did. So, but in other corruption news, we also got the Pandora Papers, which dropped this week, which has been, bless you. I don't know how much, I don't know how, how closely you followed that, Sean, but man, it's just been like, holy moly.
I have not looked at it one bit. So
it's just like, I remember looking back when we saw the stuff originally break about ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, back in like 2010 or 2011, is when a lot of the kind of reporting that was coming from was it Media Matters that kind of did all that work?
Center for Media and Democracy.
Center for Media and Democracy. Thank you. When they first kind of really kind of published all the stuff and broke the news and exposed ALEC, and really the website ALEC Exposed was the first time that a lot of us learned about what was happening with the American Legislative Exchange Council and some of the coordination that was going on. This Pandora Papers is just phenomenal in the sense that we had previous drops of these documents that showed how people are using these offshore companies to basically shield all their wealth and preventing any of it go to taxation or for the public good. So they're basically extracting, and at the same time, of course, lobbying to laws to kind of lower the tax rates, right? And so that, and allow them to have like an unbridled and kind of like inhibited accumulation of wealth by stripping workers of rights, by by worsening our conditions and so on. They get to extract all this wealth, and they were hiding it in these offshore and these offshore bankings, things like Canary Islands and so on. In this report, what's notable about this one, it basically shows that no, actually, the United States is actually one of the places in which people are hiding their monies, right? And it's a fascinating report. I got a link in today's show notes to the Washington Post report. But
I heard Montana?
South Dakota is the big one.
South Dakota? Okay.
South Dakota is the big
Delaware.
one. Yeah, most of the documents that were kind of in this draft came from South Dakota, right? So, and they were looking specifically, I think it's called Trident. Let me look here. It's called Trident Trust. And so I love the way this is from the Washington Post. Says, from a Holiday Inn in a red brick building with a welcome sign that reads "The Heart of America," a little-known financial firm set up shop 7 years ago and extended an invitation to the world's elite. The Trident Trust promised to protect the fortunes and privacy of its customers by relying on the laws of the state that had become a global destination for wealth. The company called it the South Dakota Advantage. And just some of the examples here: a Colombian textile magnate caught in a scheme to launder the proceeds of an international drug ring. An orange juice mogul settled with authorities in Brazil for allegedly colluding to underpay local farmers. And family members of the former president of a sugar producer in the Dominican Republic that has been accused of exploiting laborers and forcefully evicting families from their homes. Right? These are just some of the kind of rich people that are deciding to park their money in these special trusts that have been set up in the U.S. What's fascinating about the report, when you start digging down into some of the investigation and some of the writing that's come out of this, one's the Washington Post. The Guardian's got has got great coverage on this too as well. But what they basically found is that in the past decade, really, right, 7 years in particular, the last decade, there's been these laws passed in places like South Dakota that have allowed for the establishment of these trusts, right, to park these offshore funds, to protect kind of illegal monies and all this kind of stuff from scrutiny. And what's notable, there's this one quote in here, for example, on South Dakota. It says, quote, with little opposition, state legislators turned these proposals for, setting up these trusts, right? They turned these proposals into laws, and dozens since the late 1990s, that nobody understands any of them. Gene Abdullah, a Republican chairman of the South Dakota Senate Judiciary Committee, quipped at a legislative session in 2007, right? He just died in 2019. But there were people that were passing them in legislature that didn't even understand what the legislation was actually doing, which leads me to believe that organizations like the American Legislative Exchange Council and other associated organizations were helping set up these laws. But to know that people used to say all these other countries that are doing it, and now we get these basically criminals, right? That are, and actually leaders of country. King of Jordan, I guess, was caught parking a bunch of the state's funds in some of these trusts, with basically ripping off their own people in order to increase his own wealth. So I mean, that has been crazy, and I think that we're going to see the long-term effects of this. And these are some of the issues that should help motivate everything that we saw from progressives in the last kind of a round of elections, that we continue to see from the squad at the national level, basically saying that these people just need to be held accountable, right? I mean, it's time to kind of give the haircut to the 1%, if you ask me. But crazy. And with that same stuff, we saw that Bernie Sanders basically he was done with Joe Manchin this week, and basically came out and said, that's it. It's time for him to tell us what he wants, because Joe Manchin came out with all his nonsense about we want to avoid an entitlement society and want kind of like a caring, rewarding society. What?
So fuck him up, Bernie.
Yeah, totally. And I think, look, he comes up and it's time for him to say what he wants. What's it going to be? You want to cut childcare? Do you want to cut this? Do you want to tell us what it is? We need specifics at this point, right? And again, finally, somebody breaks the freaking the niceness, right? That senators are supposed to treat each other with, and Sanders comes out, calls a little press conference, names the name Joe Manchin. Okay, time to put up or shut up. You can't just go around with these vague promises about what or these vague words about what you want, what you don't want. You got to be specific. And the good thing about him doing that is now some reporters have picked up on that line of questioning with Manchin. So when Manchin tried to kind of come out with another press release, well, we want a no entitlement society, we want this kind of generous, rewarding society, they're like, what do you mean by that? What specifically do you mean? And of course, then there's radio silence after that. So good on Bernie for that. Also good to see that Facebook is feeling the pressure again, as we got another whistleblower that comes out exposing what the social media giant has been doing in terms of undermining democracy and kind of destroying our lives. So that was also good. Did you catch any of that, Sean?
Any of what? I'm sorry.
The Facebook stuff this week.
I know they were down all day on Monday, and then I heard a little about the whistleblower stuff. But I mean, I didn't watch any of the whistleblower stuff, but hearing it's not surprising. I think it just confirms what's been out there pretty much.
Yeah, someone who was on the record
profiting off of misinformation and disinformation.
Yeah, and some of the specifics of her story, where that was what was, I thought, most fascinating, when Frances Haugen was basically saying, like, look, I was hired as part of that division of Facebook that was designed, right, to make sure that we combat misinformation. And she quickly learned and became frustrated with the fact that they knew what they were doing, they knew how they were doing it, but because they didn't want to jeopardize any possible profits by not feeding people stuff that enraged them, that they ignored it. And once she realized that, she started gathering documents. So tens of thousands of documents that she leaked to the Wall Street Journal and other media outlets, and then finally kind of goes on national TV to kind of expose what they're doing. So time is reckoning, and there's only I think 3 words that describe what we need to do: break them up. So crazy. And last, I want to kind of give mention 2 couple articles that are definitely worth checking out. The American Prospect has got a new piece on basically what the Biden administration can do in order to deal with climate, because it looks like that Joe Manchin is going to be successful in strictly rolling back climate legislation in this reconciliation bill, unless we see a major turn of heart from Biden, because Biden seems willing to kind of want to protect Manchin's foo-foos at this point. And I don't think it's surprising that we see Biden's approval rating drop below 39% for the first time in his presidency, as nothing is getting done, and there's doesn't seem to be a will to actually put the pressure upon people to get things done. So people are justifiably getting cynical and kind of annoyed. So here you go. This is what the Biden administration could do, at least on the climate level. Do check it out in the American Prospect. And then the counter to that too, or not the counter, but the nice supplement to that one too as well in the piece in these times, looking at a report from a Democratic Party consultants are basically saying, look, your problem is not strictly say demographics, right? You guys want to keep on saying that demographics are going to change everything. We just need to sit back and wait for the country to become less white and it could change. Just no, actually, it's the strongest correlation is basically where we saw the destruction of labor unions in the Midwest. It's the Midwest is the big problem. You can have your hand wringing all you want, but really, if you want to actually, the reason why you're seeing a decline in support for the Democratic Party is the Democratic Party we lost the power of labor, and the Democratic Party walked away from trying to support so many organizing efforts. So all in on labor, folks. I think that's really, really critical too. Anyways, anything else going on the national level you want to throw in, Sean?
No, nothing too much.
All right. Well, hey, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. And after this quick break, we'll talk a little bit about what's happening here in Pennsylvania as we move on. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. Want to remind you can help support this show by heading on over to patreon.com/rcpress, where you can become a patron for as little as $5 a month. And look, and you can, tell your friends, have them head on over to our YouTube channel. We're over 160 subscribers now. We keep on growing each week. I'm very, very pleased about that. The more you share it out, encourage people to subscribe, to like the stream, and to hit that notification bell so you know every time that we go live. Be part of the conversation. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. We'll be back right after this quick break.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1933. That was the day garment factory owners locked out dressmakers in several shops throughout Los Angeles. The women garment workers, overwhelmingly Mexican, had been organizing with the ILGWU for over a month. They began conducting strikes at selected shops the previous month to press their demands. The women wanted union recognition, a 35-hour work week, end to homework, shop floor committees, a guaranteed wage, and more. Historian Douglas Monroy observed that their demands reflected the harsh working conditions that they faced. It was a volatile, competitive seasonal industry. Businesses worked tirelessly to undercut each other and job out the work. Women workers were routinely unemployed or underemployed, subject to widespread wage theft and discrimination. They were frustrated by promises of the new Industrial Recovery Act, which promised the right to organize but held no provisions for enforcement. Employers flaunted the new legislation and continued to discharge workers for union activity. When the employers forced a lockout, Local 96 looked to the AFL's Central Labor Council to sanction a general dressmakers strike, which started 4 days later on October 12th. As many as 3,000 Latina strikers maintained solid picket lines despite dozens of arrests. ILGWU organizer Rose Posada arrived from New York to help with food distribution and packing the picket lines. The rank-and-file leadership produced a bilingual strike bulletin and made daily radio announcements. The strike ended in arbitration that conceded few gains to the garment workers. But the women of Local 96 continued to organize throughout the Los Angeles area. They led a series of strikes that would eventually win the closed shop. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. It's Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken, here once again with Sean Kitchen. So, Sean, it looks like Attorney General Josh Shapiro is making some people happy this week.
Yeah, he filed, I think, 48 charges against the Mariner East Pipeline, energy transfer partners. So, I mean, not surprised by it. I think this was because of a spill that happened last year, a couple years ago, within like one of the creeks. But I mean, yeah, it's just one of those things. It's something we've been talking about or just following since as long as it's been around, and it's not surprising it's gotten to this point.
Well, let's be clear. I mean, I think this is actually building on a lot of pressure from the people in the community too, as well. There have been, I mean, the activism around stopping this pipeline has been outstanding. I think
like. Mm-hmm. Oh no, this pipeline is like the issue why Chester County like went to a Democrat, like to the Democratic Party, and like the gains that Dems have been making in that county is because of like the pipeline issues surrounding it. You had surprising victories with Danielle Otten beating like Becky Corbin a few years ago when Corbin was like a moderate working for Jim Gerlach. And that's how she got her start. Yeah, no, I mean, like that pipeline has changed the politics of the county.
Absolutely. And I think that, and it just seems like every single year they have just been getting more and more organized, better organized, more forceful. One of the best images that came out of Josh Shapiro's press conferences was this kayaktivist by the name of Libby Madares, I think is how you say her name. She's from West Winfield. She basically was pulling up there with a big sign on her kayak behind the press conference saying, "Pull the permits before the next disaster." And Shapiro is right there, bringing the hurt on the Mariner East Pipeline and Energy Transfer Partners with 48 charges, criminal charges too, as well, we should say.
And I still think there's a federal investigation out there regarding some of their lobbyists, but not really sure about that. But I remember that was going on at some point. Like the feds were snooping around with like Energy Transfer Partners.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they've been
dealings in Harrisburg.
Yep, absolutely. Well, they came out, there was the details that came out of the 69-page report that came out of these grand jury details about the sinkholes, about the drilling mud spills, the drinking water contamination in 22 sites in 11 counties across Pennsylvania. I mean, you're talking about one of the worst environmental offenders kind of in the Commonwealth. And Shapiro basically came out and he announced these charges. They released a report at Marsh Creek State Park in Chester County, is where his press conference was held. And that was the site of the 2020 spill back in the summer of 2020 of more than 21,000 gallons of drilling mud into Marsh Creek State Park. So good location on that too as well. And I got to say, I think that's a pretty good sign. I mean, look, Shapiro is kind of all but the known Democratic nominee for governor. When the Democratic nominee for governor for the next race kind of comes around, the next election, and to see him kind of basically bring the hurt on this major corporation maybe gives us a better idea about somebody who's willing to do a little more fighting back. And I know that, look, Josh Shapiro is not exactly the most progressive guy in the state. He's not someone I think that I would pick if you ask me who would I want mostly. But you know what? At this point, I prefer somebody who's willing to fight over the guy who's sitting in the office now who seems to be like, I don't know,
MIA,
coasting down the freaking hills at this point. So yes, yeah. we know. Yes, Tom Wolf, you can use a pen to veto legislation. Great. Good for you. Thank you for that. Well, keep on thanking you for that. But what the hell, man? But cool. So that was good to see. Love to see that. Love to see that. So when do you I mean, we didn't talk about this, but when do you think that we're going to start the kind of the gubernatorial race is really going to start heating up?
I'm hearing Shapiro might announce next week.
Really?
Yeah. Like I heard he wants to announce in October. I heard someone message on one of my like group chats somewhere that he wants to announce next week. Don't know how like valid that is. It's coming from a group chat. It's coming from the DMs, but sometimes the DMs like. But I've heard previously that he wanted to wait till October to announce. You kind of got that feeling from him speaking at the the rally on Saturday that he almost him to like blurt it out there, like, but pretty much like came close to saying he was running and he'll do everything he can to stop these attacks without saying it. So
well, that's why I was curious what your thoughts are on it, because like that speech felt like a warm up for an announcement.
Yeah, did you watch his speech from that? Or?
I watched clips of it. I didn't see the whole thing.
Yeah. No, that's what it felt like. I think he's going to announce next week, or within the next week or two. I've heard he wanted to wait till October, so we're already here. But yeah, like when do you think Doug Mastriano is going to be announcing?
I think I'm in the camp that I don't think he's gonna announce.
It's pretty hard to run from jail.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to run from jail. I mean, we talked about this a few weeks back, where it seemed like, you know what, he seems to be walking away from wanting to have any role in future politics. I think he's been starting to get more and more concerned about his own ass than his own future.
I do think Corman has the one like thing like that's correct that Corman has done in all this. Basically call him a lazy ass, like you're just out here huffing and puffing, but you're not doing any of the work. And like this guy would be a fucking disaster, like if he was not just like ideologically, but like a disaster just beyond like
just a level of competence.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I said this.
It would almost like be like Stacey Garrity in the treasurer's office. Like she's not doing anything. It's all being ran by like, they're old Senate staffers from, it's being ran by Eric Aronson, who used to run the Office of Open Records, and Pileggi's old Senate staff. Like it's entrenched Harrisburg inside Republicans that are running the treasurer's office, not Stacey Garrett.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think that that's exactly the case. Sorry, but I think that we talked about this on the phone a little bit the other day. But it seems like
Mastriano drinking his own juice.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking like I actually thought
you don't be smoking your own supply.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought that the guy. I honestly thought that he was scarier than Scott Wagner in the sense that he seemed like he was more like Dick Dastardly, like more kind of like organized and knowing how to play the bass.
I don't know. I wouldn't say organized. I never got that from him. I always thought he was an idiot, like, and just like, but like he, more of a cult leader.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I mean.
Like,
is like you know how to
play. He had more of that like charisma. He had more charisma. He has the charisma of a cult leader. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like people offered up their kids to him. Like I mean that's the type of person that he reminds me of.
No, but that's what scared me about him initially, because it was like, he came, you'd watch some of this stuff and he was very, what I thought was skill, I mistook, and it's just because he's just not very good at anything. But
I also think getting caught up, getting his shit blown up with January 6th, having that story, blown to pieces, saying like, he didn't do anything illegal when he like made it to the fucking steps, the top stairs that leading into the Capitol.
But that was the key for me, right? That was the moment where I was like, wait a minute, this guy is like, no, because look, I mean, if you were going to run as the cult leader candidate, right? Which I like that frame. I like that. If you're going to run as the cult leader candidate, you would have been ready for that, right? When somebody said like you were there, and like your response would have been like, damn right I was there, right? No, I didn't go in there, but I went up, and I went up there, and I thought that we could get as close. We had to put the pressure upon. I was waiting for to see some of that, but instead he was like, nope. Who? Where? DC when? It's like, was it by the Capitol? No, I was way in the back. Oh, what's this picture, Doug? Oh, gotta go. It's like it's crazy.
But, I mean, we had that interview of him, talking about people breaking the police lines, and then finding that interview on this, it's just sitting on it for a few months, just waiting for it to drop, for the opportune time. But no, I mean, we there was that. Also with Mascherano, I was gonna say another thing, but I forget. I think his goose is cooked at this point.
Yeah, I think so too.
So
then who comes out on the Republican side then?
Lou Barletta.
I mean, yeah. Do you actually think? Seriously? You think that he's going to end up with it?
Yeah, I guess. Oh, here's the one thing I wanted to say. Also with this January 6th stuff, I was talking to Roxbury. We were on the phone last night. We made a really good point. You've never heard from Daryl Metcalf and all this. You think about it, Metcalf once, hasn't really spoken at any of these rallies, questioned the election results.
It's true. That's interesting.
I mean, maybe he's the smart one in all this, playing the long game. I mean, Metcalf has been up there for 20 years.
Yeah.
So but it's also you can, he's effective where he's at as committee leader, fucking things up versus Mastriano just doing things on the outside. So, but yeah. So we're gonna say Lou Barletta. Yeah, I am 100%. I believe that they're gonna fucking nominate Lou Barletta.
That'll be pretty awesome. Because that'll be just I mean, we've seen that guy perform, and he's not very not very capable, right? So
can't
I like
pour
that.
A beer. Remember the time I had to fucking oh god, I had to bartend with him.
Oh god, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yes,
right.
him, Regan, Perry, and Rothman for a charity event, and it was just fucking terrible. Lou Barletta could not pour a beer to save life. It was pretty fun.
That's awesome. Well, yep. So we got some more school board craziness in the state. Well, I'd encourage everybody to tune in on Monday night at 7 p.m. We've got some school board candidates from the Palisades School District. We've got Jamie Davis and Cindy Shane on the program, and this. You got to say the Jamie Davis race. I mean, you've got literally she's running against a self-proclaimed Q adherent, right? QAnon adherent from that school board. And then you've got, the Cindy Shane's race has not gotten quite as much attention. But her opponent is no less on the fringe. So that's a high stakes, a high stakes election. So definitely tune in on that. And we're probably going to be talking a little bit more about the school board in general. And then of course the following week we've got Jordan Hopkins that's coming on the show again. We've kind of rescheduled his stuff to talk about the school board disruptions escalate funded by conservative dark money. That's a piece that he just wrote for Unicorn Riot. And that just basically follows the money trail, right? And I was encouraged, and Jordan was saying to me, he's basically he's like, yeah, it's you guys, talking about this podcast, talking about stuff I'm doing Ragey Chicken. He said, and out the Coop Live said, see what you guys are doing on following some of the stuff on school board, and Cyril's reporting out there. He's like, that's the thing that kind of kind of piqued my interest to get into this. And boy, he definitely uncovered the money trail in that piece. So we'll definitely have him in to talk on that. So there's going to be lots of time to get more into the school board craziness that is happening here in Pennsylvania. But the big news Sean discovered right before the show, that we'll kind of get into this before we head to break, is Mikey Stacks, man. He's back.
Yeah. Philly politics at its finest. This is this whole entire story. So you have Mike Stack, who went on, comedian and actor, and don't know how that's going. I guess not great, but he's trying to get a hold of his old Senate seat. He's been living out in California this whole time. He did Stonehenge, a safe Stonehenge, PSA for out in England. Did some other voiceovers. Total legend, if you ask me. But he's trying to get his old Senate seat back, which was given to John Sabatina, who was a Mike Stack protege. And Sabatina is leaving because of a ghost seat. This is the tactic that this is like a Philadelphia thing that happens. So basically, like you get people to go through, get through the primary process, and then after they, then there's a time period they drop out. And then that person, after they drop out, that nomination is then given to a replacement candidate. So, Sabatina got himself a fucking judicial seat. Guy that has done absolutely nothing in his time in the legislature besides like fuck up a really good bill that would help out like biking and help people promote biking. Yeah.
There you go.
This is like the one thing he's notable for.
Public service work. It's good.
He's getting a court seat. So basically, like, I think I don't know the name of the court. I think it's like the county court, common pleas. I think it's a common pleas seat. So pretty much like he'll get like one term as a common pleas judge and get a full pension, another full pension from this, on top of the pension that he'll have from being in the House and Senate for over 10 years. So fun stuff.
Well, there you have it. Good. Well, good to see him back. He was always quite the fashion statement, right?
Yes, his blue suit's amazing. Mike Stack's blue suit is phenomenal.
I just think that just the suit should run for office. Just we don't really need Mike Stack per se.
In a twist of fate, I was reading this story as you were doing the intro, and John Sabatina Sr., who's a ward leader in that district, wants that seat for himself after his son leaves. So I don't know how you people know how the ward systems work in Philadelphia. They're pretty powerful. But also ward leaders are your county committee people. Pretty much like they will pick who the replacement will be. So if you have like a ward leader throwing down for a seat like this, you'll see what else happens. But yeah, this is just like gangster politics.
I don't know.
But no, I mean, this is like Philadelphia, like mob politics at its finest, pretty much.
Jesus Christ, absolutely.
I mean, like, you can't. It's pretty indefensible.
You think?
Whole system.
You think? There it is. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with this week's last call. Yes, got pretty active in the chat. Emily kind of running with it today. Absolutely. She's got a good letter. She's got Cindy Shane's got a letter to the editor in the Herald. And so I'm definitely going to check that out. And her opponent, I just got to say this before this, according to Emily, but her opponent actually drops F-bombs during school board meetings. So there you go. That's one more reason to get that dude out of there. Anyways, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back right after this with this week's last call. Right back. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken Press. For the past 7 years, Raging Chicken Press has brought pull-no-punches, progressive reporting and commentary to the interwebs. Our long-form investigative pieces, stories that no access journalist wants to touch, or rollicking weekly podcasts strive to advance progressive movements and perspectives rooted in the struggles happening across the country or down the street. We've broken national stories and caused our share of discomfort in the halls of power. If we want a progressive future, we need progressive media. And you can help support Pull No Punches, homegrown progressive media today. Become a member of Raging Chicken Press for as little as $5 a month. Simply go to patreon.com/rcpress and choose your membership level. We need to make sure to keep the movement in the media and the media in the movement. Best way you can do that is to become a member of Raging Chicken today by going to patreon.com/rcpress. Thank you for your energy, your encouragement, and your support. Keep up the fight. Welcome back. It's Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken, here with Sean Kitchen for this week's Let's Call, where we just talk about whatever was else on our mind. Of course, this place where space news used to be a place where we talk beer quite a bit, but we kind of haven't been doing that as much right now. And Sean, I got to tell you, I have barely had any beer to drink in ages. I had one of these, half-orc pumpkin ales last night. Thank you, Matthew Bieniek. For Bieniek Biotech Brews. It's good, a little home brew. But that was it for a while because I've been like so freaking tired all the time. So it's like I have a beer and I'm exhausted. So I was like, we don't talk about that much. But anyways, we got a little bit of space news this week. We've got Captain Kirk, yes, William Shatner himself, is going to be headed up to space on the next Blue Origin. That's scheduled for Tuesday, October 12th. He is 90 years old and he'll be the oldest person to go to space. So that's always fun to see other kind of rich celebrities to be able to kind of like ride the PP rocket back up, just to crack the atmosphere and then drop back down. Right. You got to wonder after, SpaceX did its little kind of with us, you get 3 days in space. With Blue Origin, you go up, you come back down, right? It's like 45 minutes or it's like 10 minutes or whatever it is. But we'll see, who knows? Maybe he'll eventually make it onto an actual spaceship that goes around the planet. But, for now, William Shatner seems to be thrilled. And it's going to be part of a documentary, which I was having trouble finding details on what that documentary is actually about, but that'll be interesting too. So whatever, another little fun stuff that's happening there. And the other big news, of course, for me this week, as I said, and the show opening is my son becomes a teenager this weekend. So happy birthday to him and happy birthday to Rowan. He's awesome. Love my kids so much. And so that's going to be a fun weekend. So anyways, other than that, I don't have a heck of a lot of stuff going on this weekend. Other than, we got an extra day off for Indigenous Peoples Day this week, and which means that I'm going to have a grading marathon for my classes. But other than that, what do you got going on, Sean?
I don't have anything really going on.
No concerts this week. No major
nothing.
Rallies. No kind of like
no, nothing like that. Just staying in. I think I'm making like dirty rice this weekend.
Dirty rice.
Yes.
What is dirty rice?
It's a Cajun food. So
I never had dirty rice. Interesting. I love Cajun food too.
So it's like a couple cups of rice, beef broth. I'm using a pound of ground chuck beef, and then just like cooked with garlic, onions, celery, and peppers.
Cool. That sounds good. We're going to do this. There's this new, relatively new restaurant that opened up in Quakertown not too long ago, and my son has requested it for his birthday weekend. It's called Aloha, right? And it's like Hawaiian / kind of Japanese kind of cuisine. This little kind of like hole in the wall restaurant, but the food is freaking awesome, right? Which has like this phenomenal ramen and noodle dishes and lots mixed with these kind of like citrusy flavors. So it's kind of like, Polynesian a little bit, it's really, really good stuff. So I will be checking in that, but I'm also going to make some Guinness stew this weekend. So I will do that too as well, which would be good. But
nice.
Other than that, man, look, another week, another week. I am so far at my end. Can I tell you this just as we close out the show? I'm just like, I'm just done.
Yeah, I could tell.
My, I tell you, going back, I had this conversation with a colleague of mine the other day, which kind of blew my mind a little bit because this person is generally one of the most upbeat people that I work with, and super person, and he stopped me in the hall, right? Just we ran into each other, and how you doing? I'm like, yeah, look at me. I'm at my, I'm done. I'm just done with all of this. And they said, like, me too. I got to start looking for retirement at this point, right? To try to get out and trying to, again, not 65 years old yet, but they're like, yeah, I'm done. What I've seen, and especially this case with Steve Oros and things like this, is what I've seen happen here. It's like it's taken the last bit of kind of joy away, and I'm like, wow. So, and in part, it made me feel good because I was kind of like, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not just the one freak. And then, literally the same day, 2 other people told me almost the same thing, faculty members. Right. So I guess if I have to take a positive out of it, it feels like I'm a little bit less lonely, and that kind of like the feeling of what it means to work at Kutztown University right now. But we shall see. We shall see. So there's my happy news to conclude on today, Sean.
Nice. I guess it looks like Democrats are wavering on enforcing the subpoenas.
Are you kidding me?
I guess so. I'm not sure, but yeah.
I am look. I have been this whole week. I have been sitting in this feeling of doom that's been like sitting over my shoulder when it comes to both the reconciliation bill and when it comes to the January 6th commission. Right, I feel this once again. It's it's historically based, right? Democrats, they raise a lot of money. They sound like they're going to be really strong on it, and then they freaking cave. And then they kind of go all back to like, well, civility, and, they should do the right thing, and how dare those Republicans do these things? And that'll be it, right? And meanwhile, our freaking climate's going to burn, right? That these people are going to go free. The people who freaking tanked our democracy, they're going to get to freaking walk around with their fingers up their nose, flicking us all off, saying like, yeah, we're going to do whatever the hell we want. It's as much. So I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I mean, I take it as a given. I would rather be pleasantly surprised and like full of joy that they actually acted on something as opposed to, have any belief at this point. So,
but we shall see. So
we shall see, man. We shall see. So, doom and gloom. That's how we close it out, everybody. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. Sean, man, take it easy. We'll talk to you again next week. And thanks, everybody, tuning in. Thanks for Emily. Thanks for Shanna for tuning in and being active in the chat. We hope to hear from everybody out there. I want to thank to all the folks up on social media who are sharing our stuff out. It's made a huge impact. It's been fantastic. Make sure you get the word out. Have people share the show. Make sure you have them subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcast. And look, you can also become a patron of this show by going to patreon.com/rcpress. Become a patron for as little as $5 a month. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. Looking forward to this weekend. Looking forward to a little downtime. And looking forward to grading some papers. Yep, that's kind of what I do. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. We'll see you on Monday. See ya!